Hey there, pollinator friends. Beth here from Como Park Zoo and Conservatory, and I'm here with some very special plant representatives. Lots of plants hold a place near and dear to my heart, but one group that I find really interesting is the carnivorous plants. And I've thought they were fascinating from an early age. Their different shapes, their different ways of surviving are just so unique and interesting. I've always wanted to learn more, and one thing I hadn't realized I just hadn't thought about until recently was how on earth carnivorous plants get pollinated. If they often eat insects, and insects are often pollinators, how do they not eat their own pollinators? I did some digging, and we have some cool representatives here to talk about how carnivorous plants are able to successfully cooperate as well as snack on their very favorite insect friends. So let's explore. Today we have some really great plant examples with us. But first, carnivorous plants are called carnivorous plants because they eat animal material. They don't eat it like with mouths, but instead they consume and digest that animal material using digestive enzymes. First, they have to attract their insect friends or other invertebrates, or sometimes even small vertebrates can become prey to these various different kinds of carnivorous plants. They attract their prey using all sorts of different mechanisms: special colors to replicate meat or a sweet flower treat, and then special substances to capture their prey, whether it's a mechanical trap, like a Venus flytrap, or a sticky substance, or maybe even a slick surface that prevents an insect from getting away. Here you can see they can get in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and some can become quite large, which is really exciting. Now, most carnivorous plants are found in wetlands and marshes and bogs, and they're found there because they've developed this adaptation to eat animals because the soil they live in is really nutritionally poor, which is often the case in certain bogs and other wetlands. They are able to live here with this special adaptation, which takes away the competition from other plants. So they've actually gotten themselves a really cutting edge advantage, which is pretty interesting. And here you can see some different examples. One of the conundrums that comes up for these plants is if they're using insects or other invertebrates as their pollinators, how are they able to get a pollinator without having them for dinner? And they actually successfully do this by differentiating between their flower and their traps, either through space, through time, or by attracting them in different methods. And we have a couple of our very special carnivorous plants who actually have their flowers on right now, so we're going to be exploring them. Let's start off with our Venus flytrap over this way. You can see there's a couple of older stems here, but you can see a lovely flower stalk here with fresh little flowers on top. First off, they're separated by space. The traps are located down low on the ground, trying to trap insects or other creatures crawling around on the ground that would then get captured by the mechanical trap, those little snap jaws. They're also red, so they look a little bit like meat, and flies might be attracted to that. They would end up brushing against trigger hairs inside of those little traps, and after a couple of touches, the trap closes up nice and tight before digesting its prey. The flowers, on the other hand, they're a very different color. These light, pale flowers would tend to attract your typical pollinators, small bees or wasps or flies. Up in this area, hoverflies would love to seek these out and have a sweet flower snack. They wouldn't be as interested in what the traps down low are offering. So they're able to separate the situation there so that insects aren't crossing over and accidentally becoming dinner instead of doing their pollinator job. The butterwort is very similar. It actually would send up a flower stalk way up high, attracting a very different group of insects than the ones that it's having for dinner. It actually has a slick, slimy surface. Ugh. It's kind of sticky, like flypaper, that allows them to catch and then digest little bugs. You can see it's having its dinner right now, which is pretty tasty. Some plants take this a step further. In the case of this pitcher plant, they not just separate their flower, which is on this stalk way up here, from the pitchers, they also separate them by time. The pitcher plant blooms in early and mid-spring, and these flowers are really active in really the height of spring, whereas the traps don't come up as active until the summertime. So there's not even a chance that a bug that's up here pollinating would end up taking a detour and becoming a snack. They also attract different animals to different areas. This sickly sweet smell here in the traps would draw in things like ants or flies that would come on in, and they would actually end up falling into this trap full of water and digestive enzymes, and they wouldn't be able to get out. These downward facing slippery hairs would end up preventing them from escaping, which would be too bad. In the case of their flower, on the other hand, they're attracting mainly bees who would climb in to these really cool structures. I'll bring this a little closer here. And they would climb in there looking for tasty nectar and pollen, and they would end up getting pollen stuck all over their bodies in the process of trying to get out. These would actually be even tighter and closer together, forcing the bees to get in there and take a load of pollen with them before they take their next trip. This is something pitcher plants often do, having a flower stalk high up and out of the way. Now, pitcher plants can be found in many parts of the world, and some can get quite large. And some can even take on larger prey. Some have even specialized in not being carnivorous at all. Some have instead made a sweet nectar treat and made themselves the perfect size to become toilets for bats or even small other animals, which is pretty wild. Now, if you'd like to learn more about carnivorous plants, there's lots of great ways that you can learn and help. You can help protect the wetlands where they live. These complex and precious ecosystems are the only places that these plants have a cutting edge to be successful. So you can help protect the wetlands that they live in so that we can better understand the connection of carnivorous plants to their entire ecosystem. You can also learn more by exploring carnivorous plants right here in our own backyard in Minnesota. We have carnivorous plants aplenty. We have pitcher plants, sundews. We even have some really awesome butterworts hanging out, as well as bladderworts as well, right in the water, trapping their little insects swimming through the water streams. So there's lots to explore. If you check out our website, you'll find a list of really cool carnivorous plants that you can find in your backyard. You can also find some resources to where you can search. You could check out Big Bog State Recreation Area for a longer trip to explore some really cool carnivorous plants. But even here in the Twin Cities, take a walk in a marsh or a wetland near you and keep your eyes peeled. There's carnivorous plants out there just waiting to make some friends. So get out there and be wild. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.